Welcome back to the Rock Your Comeback podcast. I'm your host, Nicole Eaton, and I'm super excited. I don't typically invite people back. So you are one of the second person ever to be a repeat guest on this podcast. And I'm here with Jamie Varon. She is a best-selling author of the book Radically Content and Main Character Energy and has a new book coming out in September called Quinn Lets Go. So welcome back to the podcast.
Thank you so much for having me. Wow, I'm honored to be a repeat, and I loved being on the first time, so I'm so glad you invited me back.
I loved our conversation so much last time. And I just feel like you're a wealth of knowledge and you have such a unique perspective on things. So I know this is going to be just as beautiful of a conversation as we had last time.
Well, thank you. I mean, that means a lot. That's what I try to bring. I'm like, that's what I do in my free time is just think and observe. So I'm glad that that's being used in some way to, spread any kind of unique viewpoint especially now when it feels like there's not a ton of unique viewpoints out there anymore.
As a creative, I feel like that's true, is that we're kind of in an era where I don't know. I have a 17-year-old and a 14-year-old, and like everything outside of the box is like cringe, right? Like everything outside of the box is like ick. How do you maintain your own energy as a creative in a world that wants everything to look and be the same?
I mean, I love this question. You were asking before we got on, like, should we just flow? And I'm like, we flowed into my favorite topic right now. Um,
Amazing.
amazing. I actually just wrote a newsletter last Friday about it. Literally, the subject was cringe because that's what I'm noticing too. Like anything outside the lines, outside that box is cringe. And it's not even necessarily a cringy thing. It's just like, if you dare to be anything different, it's seen as such a threatening, negative thing. And I'm like, this is the worst possible thing we could do right now and where we need to be in culture, which is like, we should be sort of, instead of like conforming, we should be bucking the status quo. But now it's like, let's all just be the status quo. And to maintain my energy as a creator, I mean, I've had to be on social media less. I've had to delete TikTok from my phone because it just rewards sameness and it wants you to be like, it wants to turn you into like an algorithmically created kind of person, where it's like you'll be rewarded if you use the same trends, the same, even like people seriously copying and pasting someone else's content and putting it over a video or something. And I'm like, that's not creativity, like that's regurgitation. And so for me, I feel like in this time of like AI created and like trend chasing and everything, I'm like, I've gone like, get off my lawn crotchety about protecting my creativity, where I'm just like, I will now be the most authentic version of myself in everything that I do, like almost to a point where it annoys me, where I'm like, if there's a trend, I'm never doing it, like I'm so against it and that it's because I see it all the time, and I see even people that I've really looked to and love their stuff. I've watched as the more that they're on TikTok, I'm like, you're speaking in TikTok speak, and you used to be so unique and interesting. And now you're not unique and interesting by just using all the same buzzwords and trends. And like you're speaking this language of sameness. And it's been sort of disappointing as I'm like, I get we're all trying to, if we're creators, we're all trying to capture attention and we're all trying to do our best. But at the same time, I'm like, I hope that there's a swing, because I think what I've noticed is like during lockdown, it was very earnest. Like people were like, we're coming together, like we're going to do self-development. There was a lot of focus on like self-love and self-care and, coming together and supporting each other. And it doesn't surprise me that now, like anything earnest or sentimental or real is now cringe, because there's always a backlash to a movement. And I'm like, eventually, I hope that the pendulum does kind of swing to a middle ground where, you know, it's not healthy for anyone to be, taking all their cues for their personality, their style, their creativity, their expression from other people. Like that doesn't that's not self-expression. That's copy paste. And it doesn't surprise me that, like, AI is, and I'm not a hard line on it. It's just like that AI is now a big part of things too, because it's like, well, we were already copy pasting before. So yeah, I mean, for me, like I said, I just went a total hard line in the other direction where I'm like, now I will not do, I never want to do books that are like retellings or anything that's like a new and updated version of something we've already seen. I like just always want to push myself more and more to create plot lines, characters that are just like not already out there. I mean, you can't reinvent the wheel completely, but in a time where it's like people are obsessed with tropes and they want to know what the whole book is before they even read the book, or they want to like, it's just very, everything feels very safe and careful, and too much obsession with how it looks and if it's cringe or not. And if you're cringe, it's like the worst possible thing you could ever be. And I'm like, there are so many worse things you could be in this life than cringe, like than earnest and sentimental and trying. I'm like, trying is a fundamental human thing, and like we should never, like the fact that we're punishing people for looking like they care, looking like they're trying, looking like something matters to them, for expressing love, for expressing earnestness. I'm like, man, this is sad. So I'm like, I'll do it even more then, because I turned 40 in like 3 days, so I'm good. I'm like, I'm over it. Like I'm not gonna try to keep up. I'm done, you know?
I swear something happens, like I'm turning 38 this year, but I swear something happens in like your late 30s, like I would say 36 and up, where it's like, what are we doing and why? Where is it leading us? And I love what you said about just disconnecting from consuming, because I think for me, consuming really messes with my creativity. I
Yeah.
feel way less creative when I'm absorbed because I'm really easily influenced. Like, don't give me like a QVC because I'll buy it probably, you know? So if you're somebody who is, I would say, energetically sensitive, or somebody who is easily influenced, then definitely watching how much you're consuming can help your creativity. What are some other things that you do to stay in your creative flow?
I would say, yeah, I mean, definitely cutting down on consuming. And I mean, when people say that, I always like kind of roll my eyes, because I'm like, yeah, it must be easy, but it isn't easy. Like it's addictive, and I'm influenced as well. And part of the reason that I don't consume is because I compare and despair, and it's my least favorite thing about myself. And so I have to, hit my hand and say, go away from the phone and do something else. But another thing is just like engaging with art really, really thoughtfully and with presence. So I'm not allowed to be on my phone when I watch TV anymore. I'm not scrolling, and also like that, because that's not engaging. Like, and I was reading about how the TV is a different, we think like screens are screens are screens, but the TV is a totally different screen for our brain. It's not as beaming into our eyelids addictive. Like it's slower to us. And so it does kind of calm you. And so that's one thing that I do, is really engage with art and the things that I love in a way that I'm not also like doing 10 other things. And so that's really important. I also exercise, I go on walks. That's very important to me, to like, I'll listen to music, but I very rarely like listen to podcasts or audiobooks. I mean, that's fine if you do. It's just for me, I need that time. I need like some time in my day where I'm not just inputting and inputting and inputting, because if you think about it, how can you if everything's coming in, what's coming out? Like there's no real expressive nature if you're not ever giving yourself just some time to be kind of bored, and I hate bored. I hate being bored. And yet I kind of force myself sometimes to do boring things. I'm like, okay, fold the laundry and like go and do errands. I don't know why, but for me, like driving in my car and going to do errands is something akin to like sacred. I don't understand but it's so like calming to me, and it like makes me feel back in the world in a way that I don't feel we really do a lot, like I don't, and I'm trying now a new thing where if I don't have to do it online, I'm going to go in person, like yesterday it's so small, but it makes such an impact. Like, I don't know, I had to change out my internet equipment, and a part of me was like, well, just call, or you can like live chat on the thing. And I'm like, okay, or I can just get in my car and go speak to a person. And I go into the store for the internet, and like no one's in there. And there's like five guys just like standing around waiting to be helpful. And they were so nice. And I did it in 10 minutes. It was like bing bang. And it like reminded me, I'm like, please go back to analog sometimes. Like just do things in person, not everything. I've noticed that with nourishing my creativity and expression, it's not everything is just output. Not everything is like about creativity, but giving your brain time to rest and time to just like dawdle and like mess around, like you think about when we were growing up, you're 38, so same kind of time that we were growing up. It's like we would sit around and get bored. So we'd come up with like creative things, like that's when like people had bands in their garage because there's nothing else to do, and so I get myself into situations where there's not as much to do. And then I also spend a lot of time with my niece who's 3, and there's like not a lot of screens that my brother allows. And so it's just like play, and that like is some of the best times ever because I just get to remember what it's like to be a kid. And I just like sit on the ground and build castles with her and go to the park. And, so little things like that they all add up to where it's like, I'm not taking in more than I'm putting out. And then I am able to hear more creative ideas. And, on top of it is just valuing creativity and valuing my brain and my way of seeing things, like that's a fundamental part of being an artist, of being a creative that I feel like we're losing is the joy isn't like going viral. It's not like the result. The joy is your brain coming up with weird stuff that like excites you and delights you. Like that's why you do it. That's why you would do it as a kid, and that's why you would do it now. But it's become like if you repurpose a trend and that goes viral, it's like, oh, I was creative. And it's like, but it wasn't really super creative. Like that wasn't you really using all the tools at your disposal. And so I think all of that is really important to maintain like my self-expression and more so like my self-respect. I have to hold myself to a standard and not just, I don't know, I'm a 90s kid, so it's like selling out is a big thing and I don't want to like sell out. I'm like I want to just like be, like be unique and interesting and come up with things that other people haven't come up with yet. And I don't get any joy out of following a trend. Any joy out, and that's just me.
I love that you brought up like going to do things in person. For a while, especially like during the pandemic, I felt like I was doing everything from home, and I work from home, so I'm home. I'm home. But and then I was like doing the gym in my garage. I have a nice gym setup, and I was like, I need to like go to the gym and I need to stop getting Instacart and like actually go to the store because you're also running into like humans and real life connection and you're seeing real life. And I think that we think social media is real life and we're just getting like little snippets of it, but we're missing the connection entirely.
I couldn't agree more because I'm such a do things in person now because I work from home too. I've worked from home since 2009, like it's just what I do. And so actually I've always pushed myself to get out of the house because otherwise it's like I'm a troll living in my home and I don't leave, like I'm not going to become that. And what I've noticed more and more as I scroll and see things is like people becoming less and less like as if it's hard to like do these things. I'm like, you guys, we cannot normalize that it's like tough to go and like make a return at a FedEx or something. Like that takes 2 seconds. And like, or how people like, they don't want to talk on the phone. They don't want to like talk to the barista. They don't like, I can't stand how now, if you go places, like sometimes they'll make you order from like a digital kiosk. And I'm like, I feel like I'm like old because I'm just like, what? In my day, you had to speak to people. But it's like I actually think that's good for us.
Yeah.
We because I have noticed that as people have become more and more, they're not as into doing things in person. Everything's online. Everything is at the click of a button. You don't have to speak to people. People have become more and more mean. Like they're not as polite and nice and like just these like little moments in your day that you like share with someone. Like how many times I've been in the grocery store and the person in front of me doesn't even ask the person who's, their checker, how are you? How's your day? It's like nothing. And I'm like, dude, this is our little humanity. Like this is what separates us from, like we can't just become like robots, and not interact with the world because I've actually legitimately noticed since lockdown, especially where everything kind of moved on. That's when there was such a push to move online. It already was, but that was like everything has to be online now. That as we opened up again, I'm like, people have been different. Like I'm like, they're not as kind. People have shorter fuses. Like they don't want to deal with the there's just like an annoyance factor that happens when like, yeah, you got to wait in line. Yeah, you got to wait for something. Like, yeah, you might have to deal with like something you don't want to do, but it's like these things are fine. The more we resist them, the worse of a person I think we become. Like, that you can't like wait for someone to finish in front of you or like talk to someone in line or, like I don't think these are people. I feel like we act like this is like something really hard to do. It's like when people are always like, oh yeah, when you have plans and someone cancels on them. I'm like, whoa, like that was someone I thought you would like want to see. Like I don't really like when people cancel plans, like I only cancel plans if I absolutely have to. And I'm like, I think that's okay to maybe like care about other people and not treat them as, like, oh, delete and they're out or, just, you know, the way that the internet is, it's all one way. I don't care if you're commenting, I don't care if you're DMing, it's still one way and it's what they call asynchronous. So it's not happening simultaneously. Whereas when you're in conversation, like it's simultaneous, you're speaking, you're picking up on body language, you're connecting, your eye contact, all of this. These are all so many like important things that I really truly I get very sad that I'm like, we can't be losing this. And I personally, my theory is that there's going to be a massive backlash to this. And so it's like almost like we're going to return to the 90s in a way. Like there's going to be, I already saw stuff of like, I'm giving my kids like the 90s summer where it's like, no, and I'm like, yeah, I get that. I get that now we're starting, I think a lot of people are starting to see how this fixation of moving everything online, it has to be like now and fast and we expect it. It's kind of hurting us. It's hurting our ability to connect. And, it doesn't surprise me that it's like all of this is happening and then it's like there's a loneliness epidemic. And I'm like, yeah, How could there not be? I mean, no one's speaking to each other anymore.
Yeah, and I think too, it's coming with a loss of social skills and the confidence in being social. And I know, even for my daughters are 14 and 17, so I see that with them of like, they're not allowed to eat food at the restaurant unless they physically order themselves. Like that is, the exchange of we have to be looking people in the eye and we have to be speaking and asking for what we want. And it's funny because we'll walk in even stores. I'm curious, I know you're out in LA, but we'll walk into stores and the people working don't acknowledge you, or you check out and they're talking to each other. And I'm always saying to my 17-year-old, because she's graduating this year, and I'm like, I need you to make sure that whatever job you're at, the minute somebody walks in the door, you acknowledge them, you greet them. Like I'm trying to instill all of these like social skills that are unpopular, and that's like the thing I'm battling is that I know that that's not a popular thing for a 17-year-old girl to do. It's to talk with her friend at the counter. And so, yeah, I mean, we're battling as parents, even like, how do we reset the culture and move it back into connection? Because I think like we're talking about creativity here, and connection is such a massive part of being creative and being inspired and being um bringing your unique essence to things.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, well, I will say, like, as a writer, if I lose touch with like humanity and my ability to observe and my love of people, which I feel like the popular thing is like people are the worst, you know? But I'm like, I can't write fiction. I can't write anything if I don't love people, because why am I going to write nonfiction if I don't want to help anyone, or, at least share something that might be of value to them? And how can I write compelling characters if I don't like people? I'll just write people who hate people, which I guess that is a popular version of fiction, but that's not what I do. And like, I write the world that I want to see, and so it's very important for me to still stay. Of course, I have my irritation. I'm not perfect. There's things that bug me. There's times where I'm scrolling way too much, and then I have to, like, kick myself and go back into the world, and all those things exist. But the thing that I feel is like, I don't like when I feel that way. Like, I don't like when I get impatient. I don't like when I don't want to like talk to the person who's taking my food order or doing something. Like, I don't like that part of me, and I don't want that part to get bigger. I don't want that to overtake. And then I'm just like a person I don't like. And so, and I can't even imagine what it would be like to have teenagers at this time, because it must be, there's a lot of things that you're up against of how, because it's so intense right now of like what we were talking about of being a certain way. I mean, and peer pressure has always existed. This isn't a new thing, but it used to be like peer pressure from a few people in your class, the popular group or whatever. Now it's like peer pressure from millions and millions of people. And
World that I've never even seen or heard of.
yeah, exactly. It's like the net has just been cast so much wider, and the implications feel a lot more dire. Like, if you say the wrong thing, you could be canceled for like by millions of people. Like, you could get hate by people that will never ever look you in the face. That's nuts. Like, to deal with that as a teenager, even in my 20s, I couldn't. I don't know how. I mean, of course you would adapt, but that just seems ludicrous to me. And so it's a very, very strange time. And it is a strange time, especially to be making art, because even within art, it feels like there's a lot of algorithmically created things right now too, where it's like, kind of be within the box, you'll get a lot of attention. I feel like right now people want art that's like, I want it like this but a little bit different. Like, they don't want anything, they want it like a 0.5% different than what they already like, instead of like really different, all kinds of, like I read across genres, I listen across genres, I watch across genres. I'm not like, I don't stay within one thing. But right now it feels like it's one thing or two things, and the rest is being completely ignored in favor of things that are already very familiar. And I don't know, I'm not saying like that's necessarily a bad thing, but I don't know that that breeds the kind of art that would like progress anything, or like I view art maybe differently than some people. Like some people, I think they view art as just like pure entertainment purposes that doesn't have to have really any value beyond that. And I think that, sure, I mean, that's not the art I engage with. I'm not that kind of person. And so I like art that has a message, that says something at least, um, rather than mindless. Like I don't think I need any more mindless stuff. I'm like, I feel like our whole entire culture, everywhere we go, is mindless. That I'm like, actually, it might be good if like there was some stuff that engaged your mind. Like let's maybe not lose that. Like, I don't know if we should just be like, everything should be mindless, nothing matters, and don't try to inspire me, don't try to like change anything about me, don't like, it's cringe to try to, I just want like my silly little things and my silly little this. And I'm like, but they're not that silly, because if you consistently engage with mindless stuff, there is consequence to that. And that you lose the ability to think critically. You are easier to control. You're a little brainwashed. It's like, it's not as mindless as it seems. And so I'm just like, I don't know. I spend a lot of time just being like, oof, how's this gonna pan out? I'm like, oh, I just see so many things that I'm like, I don't know, all I can do is use my voice, because that's, and I never want to shame anyone. I'm not trying to. I feel like people are very sensitive to that. And I'm like, I don't want to make anyone feel bad for the things that they like or the things that they engage in. But I also think it's like, it's not a bad thing to engage with the things you're engaging in, and being like, is this, it's kind of like, okay, sure, your body for a while can run on junk food, like, sure, but should you be eating only junk food and like nothing of nutritional value? Yeah, I think we should look at that.
You've covered so many areas in terms of your writing, right? We had Radically Content, and then if you guys haven't read Main Character Energy, it's such a good read, so much fun and such character development. And then you've got your new book coming out. And so I'm wondering how you've changed as like the confidence within yourself and just even as a creator between these books.
Oh my gosh, so much. I mean, they all represent different things. I mean, obviously they have different subject matters, so they represent that. But me as a creative, they represent so many different things. I mean, Main Character Energy showed me that I could actually finish a novel. That was great. I mean, finish something really like a complete body of work. Radically Content felt like I needed to say all of that before I died type of thing. I don't know. It was very like, once I got that out into the world, it was like I had kind of gone past the finish line. And I was like, okay, I didn't realize this needed to be out there and out of me. And Charlie Quinn Let's Go. I mean, the whole thing, it very much speaks to what we're talking about now. I mean, not that she is like addicted to, their phone or anything, but she is very much like closed off to the world in this book at the beginning, for reasons that I get into in the book. But there are legitimate reasons, but she's also taken the things that have happened to her as reasons to close off. And so we find her very, very, workaholic, obsessed with work, escaping, distracting. She's not engaged with her life at all. And so when she loses everything, I mean, it all happens on like page one. It's like everything falls apart. The boyfriend, the job, she gets food poisoning, she turns 30 and she's like, what's my life? So it's very like a blank slate. She goes back to LA, to her hometown, and her little sister, who's super optimistic and just like very alive. I like to call Benny very alive. She tells her, like, I think if you keep going this way, like, you're going to wake up one day and regret that you spent your life this way. And she says, I think what you should do is do a month of yes, where all you've spent so many years saying no, 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 and that's a very relatable thing. Once you start closing off, you start saying no. No, I can't go out. No, I can't do this. No, I got to order online. I got to do. It's like a closing in. And she says, like, wake up every day and like go do something delightful or surprising. And of course, Charlie does not like that idea at all, but she says yes, like, okay, I'll try it. And I think it's just a very beautiful moment for where we're at culturally. I think that, it's got that message of like, get back into your life, like go and say yes to things and get out of your comfort zone. Like this, that's got to come back into being cool. Is that like being in your life, not canceling plans, not always retreating, not bed rotting. My least favorite phrase in the entire world is bed rotting. I'm like, okay,
Oh,
and I'm like, and that's aspirational, bed rotting and brain rot. I'm like, oh my God. I'm like, I don't belong here. And so it's very opposite that of like, she has to go like be in her life and like get involved in things and not know where she's going to end up. And I just love this idea. Like, I love the month of yes. I think it also very much like inspired me to live and say yes more and get out more because I can be homebody as well. And since writing that, like I wrote that book beginning of 2024, I feel like I've just like been out in the world more. Like I've just said yes, I've gone out and done things, and it's been really lovely. And so, yeah, I mean, each book, it takes me personally on a journey. And then by the time it comes out, I'm like, I've already had a whole thing with this. Like I've edited it. I've been inspired by it. I've done so many different things, but main character energy and radically content, both were super personal. I felt like I put a lot of myself. I mean, obviously radically content is part memoir, so there was a lot of me in it. And then main character energy, she's a writer and she's a novelist. She is plus size. And so there was a lot of my dynamics I put into that. I mean, I wouldn't say Poppy, the character, is me, but in some ways, there's a lot more of me in Poppy. So with Charlie Quinn Let's Go, the thing that I really pushed myself to do was I was like, this is not you. So write characters that are not you at all. And that really proved to me, I feel like main character energy proved to me that like I could write this, but I'll always say Charlie Quinn Let's Go made me a novelist because I felt like I could claim that title because of that book, because I wrote it on deadline with a publisher, something that previously I would have thought was crazy to do. Like, I can't write on deadline, no way. And I did. And I turned it in early, and I was so proud of myself. And I wrote characters that have nothing to do with me and a story that I completely came up with entirely in my head. And that to me that was when I was like, okay, capital N novelist. And so that was the journey with that, because I think that's why, I mean, not only do I love the book and I cry every single time I've had to read it over, which is many times. You have to read your book so many times when you edit it. I cry multiple times, but it also has a very special place in my heart for proving to me that, I can do it. Because that's important. I mean, there's a lot of things that we think we can do. Sometimes it really comes down to like, I got to prove to myself I can do it. And that's a confidence building thing. Like that built me. I built a lot of confidence from that. I was like, now I get this. Now I can kind of go full steam ahead. I can, I that was something holding me back. Like, can I actually write something with a ticking time, knowing that I have to turn this into like a real editor, like someone that's going to critique this. And and then I turned it in and I got my notes back and it was like a page of notes. And I was like, are you serious? That's nuts to me. Like I thought, and I was okay with, I'm like, if I get back like a book of notes that I need to work on, I'll do it. I'll do it. And so, that's why I love writing books though, because yeah, of course, it's wonderful to hear how they impact other people, but the process of writing it is like, it changes you. And I think that's why sometimes all this stuff we're talking about does upset me, is because I'm like, I really believe in the importance of work done offline and spending time, toiling away. And I don't think people toil enough anymore. And I'm like, I think you got to toil. Like you got to get frustrated and you got to like think, and you got to like have days where it flows and have days where it doesn't. And you got to like just be in all of that, no matter what your joy is. Because I have found so much, I've gotten a lot out of that in so many different ways, not only just like confidence, but just like a sense of peace that I'm doing these things that matter to me and I'm doing them to the best of my ability and I'm building my craft.
Well, and as an observer, like I'm somebody who's followed you for many, many years and just like watching where it started with your posts with your blurbs on it, right? So like where you've grown and just even like through your stories of like you identifying your relationship with your creativity and now feeling this pressure to get it done. I think that like as even an outsider, somebody who's followed along with your journey, it's been very impressive to watch you own your craft, own that you are a novelist indeed, and like grow in your confidence that what you're doing is not only important because it's the art that you're putting out into the world that's setting a tone, saying yes to your life, coming back alive, but like as who you are as a writer and as a person, like you're demonstrating what you're also writing. Does that make sense?
Yeah, thank you for that. I mean, I think that's really important to me in that, you know, doing work that has my own integrity. Like, I think as much as I know the trends and I would love to chase them because I also crave success as anyone, I mean, some people maybe don't, but a lot of people do, I want that success. It's been also very fulfilling for me to look back and go, like, with my books and with any future books, I just feel very proud of when I stick to my message and stick to the things that matter to me, even though it could be very easy to throw that away to chase a trend or do something that seems like it's more popular than what I'm doing. It has taken a long time for me to just trust that, like, it's going to find its people. The moment's going to come when it's meant to come. And I just have to, you know, I don't wait for applause. And that is something that's such a big, if you follow me, I mean, it's such a big part of my writing, is that finally saying, like, I don't need the external approval. And it's like, it's something I write about all the time because it's something that I deal with all the time. It's like a theme in my life where I have spent too much time sort of like waiting for external approval to come along to give me permission. And instead, what has changed over the years that I've done, books and really devoted myself to my craft is like, I give myself the permission. That's been the secret all along that I didn't realize until I just started doing it, because the hesitancy is usually because, like, you're waiting for someone to wave a magic wand and say you're good enough, start now. And it's like, it's not going to come. It's like one of the big griefs of my life is that that moment never comes. And actually, even when you think it's going to come and it comes in some form, it still doesn't feel the way you think it's going to feel. And it's like, okay. So giving myself permission to, to even like pivot in my work and to allow people to like see me as, this like self-help author and the novelist and to keep going. It's been a very important part of my journey, and it definitely has made me feel more confident and at ease with myself.
One of the things that like I talk about a ton is like growing confidence is about becoming somebody you can confide in, becoming somebody you can trust, becoming somebody that says they're going to do something and then follows through with it. And, just full circle from what we were talking about earlier, the more time we're spending on the screens, the less time we are spending in our real life, working on our crafts, getting better at things, growing our skills, trying new things. And so yeah, I hope there's a revolution where we get back to ourselves, our creativity, and give ourselves a chance to be in real life where we can set a goal for ourselves and then follow through. What other things should we know about Charlie Quinn? Like what is something that we can look forward to when we dive into her story?
Yeah, there's so many things. I mean, first of all, it's Charlie Quinn's story, but it's very much about her mom, Jackie, and her sister, Benny. They're called Triple Quinn. They're like as close and as codependent as, the two sisters and a mom and a single mom can be. And Jackie is an aspiring actress who like has not had her big break yet, even though she is, a lot older than she ever imagined it would be when she got her break. Benny is hands down one of my favorite characters I've ever written. Like when she came into my head and I heard her voice, I was like, oh, Benny, I can't wait to write you. Like she's so funny. She's so unfazed, which is like, I am the most phased person. So writing her was such a challenge and so fun to just like have someone who never takes anything personally, just is always like down for the adventure, is always like pushing her sister and like anything, even when Charlie's like sarcastic and biting and guarded, Benny thinks it's like the funniest thing ever. Like she's like, oh my God, I love your skepticism. Oh my God, like, Charlie will be like, you're such a bad influence. And Benny is like, thank you. I love that. Like everything is just, she just, nothing, everything is in her stride. That's like one of my favorite things in media when like there's the main character, but the side characters become so rich that you're like, oh my God, I want more of this person. That's actually what I've heard from earlier reviews is like people are like, can we get a Benny book? And I'm like, I don't know, but maybe, if she comes to me and she has a story to tell. So it's very LA. Like LA is its own character. They have a house in Topanga Canyon. Charlie, there's also like two stories going at the same time where we're kind of finding out like when Charlie started closing down and becoming who she is now, which was a really fun thing to write, was a really fun challenge for myself to like be telling two stories at the same time. And I mean, it's uplifting. There's sad moments. I feel like the ending is very well earned. And I think that we root for them, but we also, I was watching, I don't know if you've seen that show Sirens yet on Netflix. Um,
Someone was just talking to me about that the other day though.
okay. Well, I feel like when I was watching that, I mean, that's a lot darker than what Charlie Quinn is, but everyone's just like not super likable in that, but you sort of understand. And I feel like that's what Charlie Quinn is. Like, I don't really love this idea that female characters always have to be so likable because then they become very like flat. Because it's like, then what makes, I mean, then it's a bigger question of like, then what makes a woman likable? Let's dive into that because why is it so imperative that women be likable? Let's talk about that because I don't think we've ever said about a male character, oh, he's unlikable. It just doesn't make any sense. So it's like, I kind of take that as a badge of honor. If someone is like, she's unlikable, I'm like, well, Yeah, she's messy, she's flawed, she doesn't fit into a box. I love that about her. I think she's a human. I think she's real. And yeah, so I think it's got a lot of layers. There's a romance. There's actually, you know, the dual stories are romance, but the focus is on the family dynamics. And there's I saw someone say today, they were like, Jamie Varon's books are always like therapy but fun. And I'm like, cool, I love that because I love therapy. Like I love like there being a moral of the story and a message. And I love characters that get to inspire the main character who's struggling. And so that was very main character energy as well. So yeah, there's a lot to look forward to. It's a really fun book. It's funny. And it's got depth, so if you want to cry and then laugh and then maybe cry again and then throw the book across the room because you're frustrated at the character not doing what you think she should be doing, that's a good one. I love books like that personally. So yeah, there's a lot, and I would love, it always helps authors to pre-order. And I also have a pre-order incentive. I'm going to be signing and personalizing copies from Village Well here in LA, and they ship everywhere. So everywhere in the US. So anybody can get that. So I'd love if people pre-ordered local too.
Well, we will make sure that everybody gets the link in the show notes to connect with you, to pre-order Charlie Quinn Let's Go. And this is, as always, is a wonderful conversation with you, Jamie. Thanks so much for stopping by.
Thank you so much for having me. This was delightful.